Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something I think, well, a lot of us deal with, anxiety.
Mm,
You've told us about feeling overwhelmed sometimes, or just that background hum of unease that can, really mess with your day.
absolutely. It's very common.
So we spent some time digging into talks by Sadhguru, specifically looking at what he says about understanding anxiety and, importantly, how you can maybe move past it.
Yeah, find a way through it.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. Pull out the key ideas, and there's one really practical technique he suggests. Get that clear so you can actually try it out.
And what you'll notice straight away, I think, is how direct Sadhguru is.
Mm.
He doesn't really mince words.
No, he definitely cuts through a lot of the usual noise around it.
He asks this really basic question, and it's aimed right at you, the listener.
Mm-hmm.
If your own mind took instructions from you, would you actually choose to create anxiety?
That really makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
It completely reframes it.
Yeah.
Suddenly, it's not this external force,
Yeah.
but something generated potentially from within.
Right. It's internal. And he's quite funny, actually, when he talks about common advice, like just, let go of your anxiety or surrender to it.
Oh, yeah, the flu analogy. He says, look, have you ever told your anxiety, go away, and it just went?
Huh. No, never worked for me.
Exactly. He says, even a simple cold doesn't disappear because you command it to.
Uh-huh.
It makes the point that anxiety has underlying mechanisms. You can't just wish it gone.
He calls those ideas fanciful states of surrendering. Just nice words, basically, that don't really fix anything for you.
Yeah, empty words.
And then he gets to what he sees as the real issue. Most of us, he says, haven't bothered to read our own user's manual.
That's such a good way to put it.
We don't really get how our own system, our body, our thoughts, our patterns, how it all actually works.
It's like, having this incredibly complex machine ourselves and just sort of fumbling around with the controls without understanding the basics.
Totally.
Yeah.
And trying to operate it without knowing the principles.
Right. And he emphasizes this machine, us. It's incredibly sophisticated. You can't just force it. It needs attention, understanding.
Which leads neatly into his point about where we place the blame.
Yes. He specifically warns you against saying, oh, my anxiety is because of my genes, or it's society, or it's how I was raised.
He acknowledges those things might, play a part, but he argues focusing on them as the cause is a dead end for you.
It's counterproductive. And he uses that slightly dark humor again.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, he basically says, if you decide your anxiety is all down to your father or your grandmother's disposition, then, quote, you're finished.
Because?
Because you can't go back and pick different parents or grandparents. It's impossible.
Right. It's fixed.
Yeah.
So blaming them gets you nowhere in terms of actually feeling better now.
Exactly. So it kind of frees you up in a way. It shifts your focus from the unchangeable past to what you can influence, which is your internal state right now.
And that connects to that amazing image he uses about the body's own intelligence. The carrot example.
Oh, yeah, that's powerful. How your body can take something like, say, a simple carrot and transform it into a complex human being.
It's mind-blowing when you actually think about it. Constant creation happening inside you.
And his point is, if your system can manage that level of, biological magic, then surely you have the potential within you to create different physiological and psychological processes too, processes that lead away from anxiety.
It's incredibly empowering for you, the listener, to think that way, that transformation is possible within your own system.
Definitely.
And then there's that story, the analogy from Tibet, the porcelain knife.
Ah, yes, the sharp knife story.
Yeah.
It's quite memorable, partly because it's pretty funny in a predictable way.
Yeah, the buildup is great. They keep telling him how incredibly sharp this knife is. Handle it carefully. Don't drop it.
Again and again, and you just know what's going to happen.
And of course, eventually.
He cuts himself because his hand wasn't steady enough for such a sharp instrument.
And the analogy for you is?
The intellect, your mind, is that incredibly sharp knife. It's a powerful tool.
Okay.
But anxiety, he says, arises when your hand, your ability to manage or steady that mind, is unsteady.
That makes so much sense. When your thoughts feel like they're racing or out of control, that unsteady feeling.
Exactly. And this is where he critiques just trying to blunt the knife.
With things like sedatives, maybe?
Sedatives or other things that just sort of dull your awareness.
Yeah.
He argues that, yeah, they might reduce the anxiety temporarily, but they also reduce your sharpness, your potential.
Their overall capacity.
Right. He uses that extreme example again with that dark humor saying, well, you could remove half your brain. You might be peaceful, but you wouldn't be very functional.
Okay, point taken.
So the goal isn't to make the mind dull or blunt.
It's to steady the hand holding it.
Precisely. You want mastery, not less capacity.
And that brings us to yoga. But not just the bendy postures we often think of.
No, he's very clear. Yoga fundamentally means union, bringing things together.
Union.
And he introduces a really simple, accessible way for you to experience a form of this union. It's about bringing the right and left aspects of yourself into balance.
The Ida and Pingala he mentioned.
That's the traditional terminology,
Yeah.
yeah. Ida and Pingala. You can think of them simply as two fundamental dimensions or energies within you. Sometimes people relate them in a very simplified way to left and right brain logic and intuition, that kind of thing. But the core idea is harmony between them.
Okay, bringing them together.
And the namaskar gesture, bringing your palms together, is a physical representation of that union.
Right. Palms together, which leads directly to the practical technique, the sadhana, he suggests you can do.
Yes, something really simple you can integrate into your life.
Can you walk us through it? What does the listener need to do?
Sure, it's quite straightforward. First, you bring your palms together, but really together. Perfectly aligned, firm, even contact, not just loosely touching.
Okay, perfect alignment. Got it.
Then you focus. You focus with a feeling of love or appreciation on something really vital to your existence.
Like what?
He gives examples like the sun, which gives us life, or maybe a tree, the earth, or even a person you deeply care for. Something that evokes that genuine feeling of appreciation or even reverence in you.
Okay, find that focus point and that feeling.
And you just hold that focus
Yeah.
with the palms together for about 10 to 12 minutes.
10 to 12 minutes. It sounds simple, but what's the thinking behind it? How does that help with anxiety for you?
The rationale is that this simple act helps to harmonize those two inner dimensions we mentioned, the Ida and Pingala, or you think right-left brain. Bringing them into sync through the physical posture and the focused positive emotion helps settle the system. It creates internal coherence.
Ah, okay. Settling the inner energy, creating balance.
Exactly. A very direct physical way for you to influence your inner state. And this idea of influencing your inner state is central to his next point.
Which is about the nature of experience itself.
Yes. He makes this really fundamental assertion. Everything you experience, joy, misery, pain, pleasure, even seeing light or darkness, it all happens within you.
It's all an internal experience. That's a big one to really take on board for yourself.
It is. And the logical follow-up question he poses for you is, if it's all happening inside you, shouldn't you be the one deciding what that experience is like?
Logically, yes. You'd choose pleasantness, wouldn't you?
You'd think so. You'd choose bliss over stress, joy over misery. Seems like the obvious human choice.
But we often don't.
Well, this is where he brings in a critique of sort of our societal focus. He argues we haven't really been taught how important it is, or even how to be, well, a wonderful human being internally.
We focus so much on the outside, achievements, fixing external things.
Exactly. We neglect the fundamental skill of managing our own inner landscape, cultivating well-being from the inside out.
And he links that inner state directly to how we act in the world, doesn't he?
Absolutely. He suggests that if you feel wonderful inside, you'll naturally do wonderful things. If you feel miserable or nasty inside,
You'll likely act that way towards others. It makes sense. Your inner state spills outwards.
it really highlights that ripple effect for you.
Yeah.
And it leads to his point about maybe putting too much emphasis on fixing external problems, the economy, world politics, whatever it is, while neglecting the foundation.
The human being itself.
Yes. He says, sure, the world needs fixing, but fundamentally, we need to fix this human being.
Yeah.
Each of us needs to take responsibility for our inner experience.
And part of that is seeing beyond the divisions we create.
He talks about how all these identities we cling to, nationality, religion, gender, race, ideologies, how they fracture us.
even though underneath it all.
Underneath it all, we're part of the same life.
Mm.
He uses that poignant reminder in death, we all become the same soil. It brings a sense of perspective,
Yeah, it really does. That ultimate unity.
regardless of the daily anxieties.
So if we were to summarize the main takeaway for you, the listener, from Sadhguru on anxiety.
It seems to be that anxiety often stems from an unsteady mind, from our internal processes not being quite under our conscious management.
Right. It's not about blaming the knife, but steadying the hand.
Exactly. So instead of just trying to suppress anxiety or wish it away when it crops up, the real work for you is in actively cultivating that inner balance, that steadiness,
And it gives you a starting point, a practical tool.
that namaskar satana, bringing the palms together, focusing with love and appreciation for 10, 12 minutes. It's a tangible first step you can take.
Simple, yet potentially quite profound for harmonizing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. If it's true that your internal state fundamentally creates your experience, your joy, your suffering, your anxiety, what happens if you truly start consciously choosing pleasantness within yourself?
Yeah. What are the implications? How could deliberately cultivating that inner well-being change not just how you feel inside, but how you interact with everything and everyone around you?
How might it reshape your entire experience of the world? It's something worth exploring, maybe by trying out that simple practice we discussed. See what happens for you.
Definitely food for thought.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.